And we are back to talk about the finale of Loki Season 2, arguably one of the best finales we've ever had in Marvel. But of course, before we start, we have a special guest, a good friend of mine I've known for quite some time, Mr. Ness, from the YouTube channel, the Comics Wiki. How are you, my friend?
Good. It's nice to be here.
Now, Ness, you are actually a Carmine variant, right? From a different timeline.
Yeah, I'm from the timeline where I did Marvel only instead of Game of Thrones.
You know, you say that,
Oh,
but
nice,
this
nice.
is actually true. Mr. Ness here is actually a Marvel expert. You know a lot about the comics. I had you and Carmine. I had you and Preston talk a while back,
This
and
is why you're confused. You're calling him Carmine because he's
you're
you
you're
from a
you're
different
you're
timeline.
fucking with me. You're fucking with me. But no. So Loki season 2, we kind of discussed it briefly on stream. Preston, you said it was possibly the best finale we've gotten in a very long time.
I mean, I think it's the best finale I've seen from a Marvel property. It's what I mean. Wow, just like what a punch. I mean, that's the thing. As I was just like, man, it made me feel things. It made me feel things. Like how often does Marvel make you feel things besides like, yay, the team, you know? I mean, I guess Iron Man dies or something. That was fun, whatever. But like the this is just like wow. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not saying it made sense, but man, what a beautiful fucking ending and just a resolution to the character of where it was going and thematically it all fit together. You know, I went back because I was so impressed with the ending. Because Carmine and I were talking about how like, wow, this show is a mess. Maybe they'll stick the ending, but come on.
Wait a
And
minute.
then
Well,
they
hold on. I
fucking
did not
stuck the
think Loki
ending.
was a mess. I thought Loki throughout season 2 throughout was freaking amazing. What do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I admit that the acting and the fucking direction is beautiful. Such a beautifully shot show, and the little trinkets and the atmosphere and everything is very cool. Um, but it's very confusing. A lot of things are very confusing. The plot points are very confusing. Like, why are they going to get Sylvie? Why, is Brad in a certain location? What is he doing? Uh, what's wrong with the temporal loom and time slipping? Like making sense of all of this. What things are in time loops, and what things are in.
speaking of the time slipping, did you notice that it was a kind of the consciousness time slipping that you talk about in Minds of Wolves and Robins?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes. He starts switching the type of time slipping he's doing. He switches from body time slipping where he's in a different place and he can
Mhm.
actually like run into himself, and he switches to consciousness time travel where he goes back
Yeah,
to earlier versions of himself.
yeah. So I was rewatching it, and that kind of clicked with what your videos were saying. So I thought that I would bring that up to you and see if you had you brought that up on the podcast before?
We have not brought it up on the podcast yet, no. But that's definitely what he starts doing. He starts consciousness time traveling, which allows him to change time, while before he was in time loops that are unable to be changed. Which
Yeah.
I so I went back to watch the first couple episodes and to see if like what things were seeded from the beginning and what things weren't, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of interesting things that are seeded, like the setting and the different devices they use, and the loom and stuff um and the themes are very much like set, and I want to say a lot of the themes are very similar to Ice and Fire, because a lot of it has to do with free will versus um, everything being predetermined. And so, like, when the sacred timeline is in place, we have a predetermined destiny, and no one has any freedom. There's no free will. And so, at the end, Sylvie gives everyone free will, um, but then there's but then people like keep trying to and then at the end, like, how do you reconcile the chaos of free will with like the because they're in this struggle. There's this moral struggle that they keep like talking about in their war rooms. Like, well, if we don't prune the timelines and if we don't get rid of free will, then there's just going to be chaos and destruction. Which kind gets into like the ideas of all totalitarian states, right? That if we allow too much freedom, then everything will fall apart. But then it all relates to Loki himself, like Loki is a god of being a trickster and chaos, but at the same time he can't break out of his own role as villain. And
on that
things.
note, he is a god of mischief, and I think that's what they hit the like nail on the head with that ending scene is branching timelines are infinite mischief, and he has just mischief held in his hands for all of eternity.
Ooh, I like that.
Kind of,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when he does his final little walk. And that was like my favorite part of it was, he's nurturing a new Yggdrasil, like a new Midgard, new all this, but it's made out of different dimensions and all this different stuff. And I was constantly thinking about that.
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. How the fuck did we not think of that? The branching timelines, the branches of Yggdrasil, like, how did we not think of that? How did no one get that?
That was the beautiful thing about that ending, is that it punches you on many levels. Because, like, one, it's very fitting that, so even though Loki is the god of mischief, and he's trying to and he's always been trying to be anti-authority his entire life, he's still so in his role that he's always the villain. And this is a big part of the Breaking Brad episode, because the Breaking Brad episode, they're interrogating Brad, but Brad is interrogating Loki.
Yeah.
And Brad is getting under Loki's skin saying, dude, I've been doing this a long time and I've met a lot of you. You're all the same. You're always the villain. Stop trying to be a hero. And so there's this weird paradox that the god of mischief, who is like trying not to be pigeonholed, is pigeonholed like in that role. And so at the end he like breaks free from being the god of mischief by being like this like caring person that holds the whole universe together while like allowing everybody else to have freedom. Like he gains freedom by giving everyone else freedom. I'm not saying like the plots like really kind of make sense, because time travel never makes sense. But I was very surprised going back that they actually were seeding all of these things with regards to Loki's character development. And, at the end when like Loki has such a beautiful ending, and then it pans out and it's Yggdrasil, the tree from Norse mythology, and you're like, oh, that's like another gut punch. Like, oh my god, it's so fucking fitting.
Also, when he takes his first step off of the broken gangway, it's actually, if you think about it, it's a parallel to Thor 1, when he lets go of Thor's hand on the broken Rainbow Bridge. Instead of letting go, he takes his first step into godhood. It's it's such a punch. Like, that really hit. Did you catch the Back to the Future reference? I saw a couple people online catch it. With
really?
Obi.
What was the Back to the Future reference?
Obi, he has that little temporal loom thing, and he goes, I haven't quite painted it. Doc Brown does the same thing when he unveils the Hill Valley prototype. He goes, I haven't quite painted it, and it's this amazing like diorama.
Yeah, I do remember that. I guess we did. I mean, I only caught that like temporal loom. It sounds like Temple of Doom, but like, his diorama where he's just like apologizing.
Yeah, on the loom thing, I remember like Googling like, let me see if there's any old like a dictionary for loom to see if maybe like, because Loki ends up becoming the loom, so like maybe there's some dictionary thing that they use, because they use some like for example, like the TVA is a Thor thing. Like it started in Thor comics. So Loki, I don't think directly interacts with them, but it is home. It feels like home, for them to kind of do the TVA with a Loki thing. Although this is like not like any Loki source material at all. Maybe like Agent of Asgard, which is a pretty recent run. But yeah, no, it's really fun to see like Loki Men in Black kind of thing going on.
The the other thing I was thinking about, in episode 9, how they have that line everyone saw coming from 5 minutes away, where she says, like, playing with the timelines, it feels like we're playing God. And then
Hmm.
he says, we are playing God. We are gods. Um I mean, it's funny that in the end, like, he flips it around, because everybody kind of associates that line of you know, people that try to control everybody else are playing God, but he's doing the exact reverse. He's playing God while giving everybody the freedom to be whatever they want. Um, and turning all of that on its head. It's
It's funny because even though he's like giving that gift, I just thought of this right now, but ironically, he was stuck in this like H.G. Wells Groundhog Day where he was, living the same events for centuries and eons, reversing engineering on the temporal loom and all this, and
yeah,
not really seeing people have free will because he's replaying the same time to learn and learn and learn. And now he's giving everybody else free will. So his last hurrah was him stuck in a Groundhog's Day of God knows how long, and now giving everybody else this out, essentially.
which is funny that the entire loop of time with He Who Remains was one big Groundhog's Day, right? Like,
Yeah.
he gets killed, a million Kangs happen, there's a temporal war, you end up with one Kang in the TVA, he sits at the end of time,
He
he
Who
gets killed, and
Remains,
he
he said
loops.
something that he goes, I think he goes, tough decisions get the big chair. And at the end, Loki gets the big chair because he made
The
the
big
tough
chair,
decisions.
yeah.
Yeah, that was such a good little reversal, too.
I love Jonathan Major's performance, by the way. He like really nails going for, like, doing the all of a sudden changing his personality, like dropping the whole charade that he had first season.
Oh,
Like, the
yeah.
minute he realizes that Loki actually has powers and stuff. But man,
Yeah, him as He Who Remains, like his theatrical acting compared to the Victor Timely, like stuttering and fearful, kind of anxious. I remember in season one watching that last episode and just being so enveloped in the television because of him standing up on the desk and walking around. And he captures the same exact energy when he's sitting there, kind of scolding Loki for not knowing how to
yeah,
pause time and going, "Oh, who do you think figured out time slipping?" And it's just I really think these are just great moments. Like, I actually didn't like the last episode. I saw that you did, but I saw
oh,
a
episode 5.
yeah, I actually saw a news article that says that it was rewritten like last minute. They were gonna do something crazy,
Oh,
and Marvel nuked it or something. Some other YouTubers were talking about that as well. But yeah, it's very odd. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan.
Touch on this. I didn't know that they were going to do something else. What were they going to do?
Yeah, so episode 5, I think, was initially supposed to be rewritten. They won't say what they were supposed to do because obviously, like, they don't want it getting out. Um,
yeah, yeah,
but I think what happened was Marvel came down. They saw that it got a little too crazy, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we can't do this." Uh, So no, and so I think he spent like a day or something. Here's the quote: "I think Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead did just an incredible job on episode 5, and that was the one they were most intermittently involved in together." He says, "Our original episode 5 had gotten nuked. The previous version was one they came on. Uh, it was their favorite episode, and so that one got nuked, and we had to come up with something new. There was a mind meld in that writing. So yeah, like I'm guessing that they had gone to other universes they weren't supposed to go to, or something like that.
huh?
Sorry for the shoddy reading. I was trying to find the article as well.
No,
No,
you're
no, but
fine.
it's funny because I'm actually thinking about how well, considering that the episode 5 was written on the fly, how well it fit all together. Because in the
Yeah.
first episode, um, if you remember the first episode, the is kind of weird in the sense that Loki is time slipping, and so they need to have him stabilize. And so the way they have him to stabilize, which he eventually unstabilizes again and starts time slipping, but the way they stabilize him is they do the walk out to the loom just like they do in episodes 5 and 6. But Mobius does the walk in order to extract Loki from a time stream. And so you get introduced to all of those devices and that bridge and the whole like walk out to there and all of that's established. But they also established in that episode, like OB is like, oh, you know what happens when you fall. He's like, what happens if there's too much time radiation? And he says, well, it's kind of like falling into a black hole. Your skin gets peeled off and you get pulled made into spaghetti. Yeah, you get made into. He like literally says everything that episode 5 is about, which is the spaghetti and being torn apart. The thing that like was it episode 4 is the first time Timely gets torn apart, and
yes.
I think Carmine was like gutted. Yeah, so all that was like planned from the beginning. That was that they actually check off gunned like this is what happens to you if there's too much radiation, and it's like, oh, that's the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, the same thing happens on a bigger scale. I was rewatching some of season 1, and that first conversation they have, they go back to it. And essentially what he says is, the glorious purpose you've been working so hard for has been a waste of time. And that means, at the end of season 2, we find out the whole thing the TVA has been working for the whole time has just been a waste of time. We could have ended this all with just killing He Who Remains and letting Loki become the temporal loom. And that would have solved it. But instead, we were sitting there running around in circles, trying to find ways to fix it, trying to save lives. And it was essentially what you were saying, just on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm still iffy on is how the hell did he get... Someone in your comment section said the reason he got the ability to time slip is because Sylvie, at the very end of last season, when she sent him back to the TVA, she purposely, or maybe it was He Who Remains who did it, sent him back in time instead of to the current timeline.
I'm
back
so
in time.
confused by that.
Yeah, somehow he just has that ability. And then I asked you, Preston, like, how did he get that? Because, you're always super paying attention. I always feel like I'm not paying attention sometimes. But you said they said it. He's always had that ability. Huh? Like Ness, you're the comics guy. You've read all this stuff. Has Loki had the ability to travel back in time? Was that a comics thing?
Not that I'm aware of. He has gone back in time. He doesn't just go back in time. I mean, there's been little stories where he goes back in time, or not even back in time. He just goes down to Midgard and causes tricks. So, I mean, maybe there's a comic that I'm missing. I haven't read all 400,000 Marvel comics or however many there are. I've just read a lot of Loki and a lot of stuff that I like. But essentially it's a lot of enchantment, a lot of what he's doing when he puts a hologram of himself on somebody else, or, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's more or less what he does. And also the time slipping, when he goes to the past of the TVA, there really shouldn't be a past of the TVA because in Thor 237 or 245, when they explain, I mean, this is the source material, right? So we're going off of this. Where the TVA is in what essentially is limbo. Limbo is timeless. It's outside of time. So there shouldn't be a past to outside of time in my brain, but there is in this show.
There should be an Ileana Rasputin magic floating around there because she's in limbo.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Carmine. I was making some New Mutants jokes.
Ileana Rasputin. I don't know what this. You're gonna have to explain this.
Colossus has a little sister,
mm-hmm.
And when she's a little kid, she has the mutant ability to open portals, and she opens a portal to Limbo. And so when she's a little girl, she opens a portal to Limbo and falls in, and she gets raised by demons in Limbo, and then she exits when she's a teenager.
That's actually Magic.
She joins,
the X-Men. You might have heard of her from that name.
Yeah, with the name her name Magic. Yeah,
I watched
but
the X-Men cartoon and X-Men Evolution in the early 2000s. That's all the X-Men I know. In the movies, that's all the X-Men I know. So if she's not in there, I probably don't know it.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see her in the background.
she's in the New Mutants movie. I didn't see the New Mutants movie, but I think they put her in. Did they put her in? I don't know.
I didn't watch that, to be honest with you.
I don't know. So I am struggling with like, I mean, now if we're like trying to talk about things that like trying to make sense of everything, which I don't know if there is actually making sense of everything because there's a lot of things that they just have happen in the show to move the plot, like giving Loki the power to just time slip,
Yeah.
like out of nowhere. Or temp pads getting hits at random times in order to like allow the characters to go someplace, or like Brad's plan is really, really shaky. Like, what was he doing again? Like that. I've gone back and watched that episode twice now, and it just doesn't. It doesn't.
So you've read a lot of the comics in that time era. Do you recognize the Zaniac reference at all?
I do. I know that
killer?
like I know that he's the serial killer and Zaniac, and so him being in the movie Zaniac is kind of funny.
Yeah, I like that it's funny. I just feel like maybe breaking the guy's brain from having all this time trauma and having him go out and be a real serial killer would have made for some content, but I like the goofiness of him. He's a silly little guy.
It's funny because they could have made him like a intertemporal Jack the Ripper or something.
Oh yeah, and then they could have done this little
Ripper
B plot essentially, which a lot of shows tend to do, but it ended up feeling like a 6-hour movie again, which is fine because Secret Invasion and the past couple haven't had much to live up to. So this is great.
This is great, and. It's the show. I'm just shocked by it. I'm just shocked it exists. Like kind of like Andor. I'm just like, wow, this got produced. But I was also trying to figure out like what the streams are. Like you physically see Loki like grabbing streams, like grabbing these like ropes of time, and you're like, what are those ropes of time, and why can you see them from the TVA? And then kind of at the end, you find out that the land that the Lokis went to at the end with the big cloud monster was also the TVA.
Oh, yeah, it's like their junkyard, yeah.
Yeah, but the junkyard is essentially just the TVA at the end of its own time.
We also
which
see
means
Ravonna
like he who remains
there.
palace. Yeah. Yeah. Though we don't know where Brad went.
Yeah, I want to know.
Just kind of...
He might be the main villain of Kang Dynasty now, so...
Holy shit, that's a good point. What happened to Brad at the end? Oh my god, I didn't realize that.
We never find out because at some point he gets pruned, right?
You know what?
So he should be like...
You didn't see him in the war room?
Just when Loki was doing that whole like loop thing, when he was like looping and trying to figure everything out, and he went in and was like, "Hey, Miss Minutes, I know that let's cut the shit. We need your help. I know you're a rogue AI right now." And Brad just kind of looks at him. Brad's story kind of ends when Loki time slips and just goes on the bridge himself. Like everybody's story kind of ends there. So we can assume that Brad's up to what he was up to in episode 4 when all this was actually going down.
That's true.
But I can't remember if he's in his... Is he in a cell? Is he running around the TVA?
No, Ravonna just liberated him and killed Sweet Robin's mom.
Right, okay.
But no, you're right, though. At the very end of Loki, now that you can have all these branch timelines, he can go and live his life. I kind of wish that was like a scene at the end where any of the hunters can go and just live their lives if they wanted to.
I think there's some discussion about, and it didn't occur to me until at the end, Mobius goes to check out his life, and he sees himself with his kids. And at first I was confused. I was like, oh, is there a time situation where... And then I was like, oh, wait, no. That's Mobius' sacred timeline he's looking at. and Mobius is a variant. And so Mobius's timeline has been destroyed. So there's no back home for Mobius.
Nope.
But then it occurred to me, like, Brad went on the sacred timeline and became a movie star. And I don't know if it's like,
I think as soon as she killed He Who Remains at the end of season 1, everything started splitting. I think that's how it ended, right? Was everything started splitting. So the Hunter was like, oh shit, I'll take off during the chaos. And then there was some sort of time dilation so that down there was a couple years, but TVA, it was like those 50 minutes of freaking out and trying to figure everything out, those 2 days or whatever it was. I read an explanation somewhere that's what had happened.
I think there was a time dilation, but they called Brad's timeline the sacred timeline in that episode. Yeah. Now, granted, Brad could be from any time. He could be from the 90s. He could be from the 2000s.
Yeah.
He could be from the 1800s. So I don't know if he like went to the sacred timeline, got rid of himself, or he just went to a different time that he doesn't exist.
Well, he probably just wasn't on the sacred timeline. I was thinking about this sometime during episode 3 or 4, when they were kind of showing off all the different hunters and the disarray and talking about how everybody had lives. I was thinking, oh, well, Kang, He Who Remains, whatever you want to call him, he probably handplucked some really amazing people that he saw qualities in. So he probably took mages, he probably took people from Asgard, from like Jotunheim, like certain people like, Avengers from different multiverses. So Brad essentially could be just like, a guardian or a shaman from like the Middle Ages that he taught to speak English. He could.
Well, they did say he was an excellent hunter. Mm-hmm. So,
he could just be like a Roman gladiator that they took from that, erased his memory, and gave him English.
Yeah.
God damn, like that's actually a very good idea. And I hate, because the hunters for the most part are just stormtroopers, because they really focus on the agents, right? Like Ravonna and Mobius, and the only hunter we really focus on is B-15, the black woman. But all the other hunters, they're kind of just not mindless, but like nameless stormtroopers. With the exception of Brad. Brad is Finn, but just like with Finn, they didn't give him much. But besides that one episode, they didn't really give him much of a backstory. Because that's a cool idea. He could have been Jack the Ripper. Because Casey was, who's the guy from Alcatraz, Preston, that escaped? Fuck.
Yeah.
He's Andy Dufresne.
I
from
forget. Andy Dufresne.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But they actually did a lot of, so at the real Escape from Alcatraz, they did use fake heads in the beds and they showed that whole thing. And it's just that the assumption is that the people that escaped from Alcatraz all drowned, that it never went anywhere. But they did never find the dude's bodies, and the guys just like disappeared.
Was it Frank Miller?
That's kind of.
I think Casey was like Frank Miller or something. And they did it. They had some fun with it where Loki in season 1 was what's the name of the man who escaped with all the money in the airplane?
D.B. Cooper, yeah.
There it is. A lot of cool ideas. By the way, everyone kind of got the perfect ending, especially Sylvie, because she really hates the shit out of Kang. And now the TVA will spend the rest of its existence hunting Kang variants and making sure that all the timelines.
I don't think Kate Dickey and that group had a very good ending.
Fair, yeah.
Her ending was pretty horrible.
That is going to be a problem.
Squished in a little hypercube. Yeah, that was not good.
That is going to be a problem because, and I wish I had a resolution on this. Now that Mobius is gone, and Brad is probably gone, Ravonna is gone, and I would argue 10 to 15 people were killed by Miss Minutes and the cube thing. The TVA really does need to recruit new people. So I kind of wish there was like a bit, like somewhat of like a little addendum at the very end where we find out like how they're recruiting people now, because they need more people. If they're going to go after all the Kang variants, which is what they're doing, we need to know like, okay, at one point a Kang variant is going to kill a couple of guys. How do we replace those guys? What's going on there? So
yeah, funnily enough, the file you were talking about Kang variants. I'd love to see how they recruit maybe in a TVA show or something, a little cartoon. But
Hmm.
yeah, no. But the file that they leave on Mobius's desk is the Ant-Man Quantumania Kang. He looks into it and just kind of you can see the pictures of Ant-Man Quantumania in the folder, and they're keeping tabs on other variants of him. So, and also with Ravonna, I don't think she's checked out. She like Kang has a very unhealthy obsession with her, I would say. And if we're really gonna do Kang Dynasty, if my boy Jay Mage gets off on those charges and he's in Kang Dynasty, I think Ravonna will definitely be reappearing as his muse.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because apparently from insider sources, if you can believe that, like nowadays you can't really believe like insider sources. It seems like people want Marvel to fail more than it actually is.
There's so much misinformation out there, right? That it's just really hard these days.
Right, but like apparently they're flipping out because like, oh my God, we're trying to pivot away from Jonathan Majors Kang to Doctor Doom, but like there's not a good way to do that, blah 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 blah. And people were saying like, yeah, there is. Loki season 2's ending is a phenomenal way to pivot away from Kang to Doctor Doom if they really wanted to. Because
that's a horrible way.
You really think so? Because the TVA has the lid on the Kang variants. Now they can actually finally move to someone else.
I don't believe in like gatekeeping or anything like that. I just want to say I love Doctor Doom. I grew up with Fantastic Four. That's my main team, Doctor Doom. I have plasters of him all over my walls. No. If they did that, they would just make a fourth version of Doom that's horrible. What they should do is do a trilogy of Fantastic Four where it's leading into Doom. You do like Atlantis attacks for the first one. The second one, do like the death of Johnny Storm. The third one is Future Foundation versus Doom. Or like do the second one is Doom kills Johnny Storm. That's the death of Johnny Storm. And that's how he gets locked in the negative zone. And then you move on to Doom making Battleworld or whatever. If they drop him right in and go, this is the most powerful villain, he's the Darth Vader of Marvel Comics. I won't feel as inclined to think of him as a Darth Vader if they don't prove to me that he is. Which I guess, like, in A New Hope, Darth Vader kind of walks in and is just like, hey, I'm the big boss. But I don't think Doom can really pull that off in an era where Marvel is being very lazy about writing. I think they need to be very careful how they need to tread very warily in the future.
Especially for a character as important as Doom. I mean, I'm just saying if Thanos gets all these fucking movies like hyping him, and then he gets 2 movies dealing with him, you know, you can't just have Doctor fucking Doom, which by the way,
waltzing in.
Yes, Thanos is more powerful in all of this, but Doctor Doom,
I would disagree,
has always been more culturally, well, I mean, I get it in the sense that like Doom is smarter and can come up with ways to be more powerful.
Yeah, but God Doom ripped his spine out. That's the only time that they're even on equal playing level. But yeah, if he was like, oh, fool Thanos, how he's so dedicated to Richards, he'd probably find a way to fuck with him. You know, but yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, Thanos is ultimately could probably beat him up in a fist fight.
But in the importance of Doctor Doom is just he goes beyond Thanos. Thanos is just not, he doesn't have the same cultural salience to a Marvel fan. Like Doctor Doom, like if you're honestly saying like oh God, what was was it Acts of Vengeance? Like the council they had, you know what I'm talking about?
Which one? The Reed Council?
So there was a so back in I think it was 89 to 90, there was a crossover event called Acts of Vengeance.
Yeah.
And Acts of Vengeance essentially was all the supervillains were like, dude, they all kind of accept that we suck.
That's the one where like Quasar defends the Avengers base, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I remember that event. Sorry about that. Yeah, go on.
No worries. But it's a kind of a cool, a simple plot. And essentially all the villains get together and they're like, you know what? We really suck at defeating our respective villain. What if we swap? And so you have
Yeah.
all of these villains that usually do not fight the different heroes fighting each other. But I remember like the council is something like Doctor Doom, Magneto,
Red Skull,
um,
Kingpin.
yeah,
Um,
Red Skull, Kingpin.
there's I think
Right,
Immortus is there, or a variant of Immortus, which is just Kang. I remember a purple guy being
Yeah.
there too.
And the Mandarin and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
but it's like it's the big guys, right? It's the ones that have been there forever. And like Doctor Doom, he played double duty because Doctor Doom was a villain for both Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. And so like everyone kind of knew I would even say that for a long period of time before X-Men became the most popular comic over Spider-Man, Doctor Doom was the most famous villain in the Marvel universe. Like he is just the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he
And
was
then Magneto
essentially,
probably,
he was always crossing over with Avengers. He was, every time Fantastic Four ran out of something, they were like, yeah, no more Inhumans, let's just bring Doom back. I mean, he was always striving for power. I think that was the thing, was like, a lot of people, I think, really liked the action figure of Doom as well. Like, he sold very well. Like, he looks
So you
cool.
just don't chuck him in. You don't chuck him in
No.
so easily.
Well,
fucking
Marvel has
resolve.
been kind of wasting a lot of their most recent movies because it doesn't seem like there's a coherent story going on. I get like the first two phases of Marvel stuff was Avengers Assemble, and then Phase 3, like they put Thanos in there. The Phase 4 was, by the way, Phase 4, 5, and 6. We're on 5 now. Is called the Multiverse Saga. So 4 was some of the Disney Plus stuff and Spider-Man No Way Home. A lot of the movies in that I don't really recall. We're in Phase 5 now. Phase 5 is kind of meh. Quantumania was meh. Guardians was pretty cool. There a lot of stuff was pushed back because of the writers and actors strike. So what Phase 5 is going to be is Fantastic Four, which is coming, Blade, which was in production hell for a minute because they kept fucking with the script, and the Rashad Ali almost left because they kept fucking with it too much. And it's just it doesn't seem like there's a main direction of where it's going besides Quantumania trying to do Kang, and then TVA also leaning in on Kang. So if like I said, I think I disagree with you, Ness. I think if they wanted to pivot away from Kang, this Loki season 2 finale is a great excuse to push it through, to like get away from Kang because of the whole Jonathan Majors thing.
So that means, yeah, they would have to drop Kang Dynasty and just go directly into Secret Wars. And that would be, like, so then you would reverse the Loki trilogy, the Loki series, right? So you'd have to kill Loki, or get Loki off that throne somehow to smash everything into Battleworld, or get a Beyonder, like Secret Wars 2, to come and pluck parts of Loki's, or maybe Loki makes Battleworld out of parts that he finds most intriguing in his subconscious or something. I don't know. But yeah, that would mean that you would have to just do Fantastic Four and Secret Wars. And I don't know. I'm heavily against that. I see where you're coming from, though.
You could just recast. Preston was talking about this a while ago. Like, what's wrong with recasting? But
We
at
already
the
did
same
it with
time,
or is it Terrence McKenna? Or not Terrence McKenna, that's the mushroom guy.
Yeah, Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, and Iron Man 1, and we went to Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2. Why can't we do that with Kang?
And the Hulk was recast.
Edward Norton, yeah.
I just think that
And
I
it
think
makes
the
more
simplest,
sense, too, with variants.
best
like adding
one,
in.
yeah. Absolutely.
I'll tell you why.
Like,
I'll tell you
why
why,
not?
because Preston's right. Jonathan Majors is such a good fucking actor, and he really stood out as not only Kang in Quantumania to the point where people were rooting for him, but also Victor Timely. I really like the character of Victor Timely, so he really stands out. He's a good actor, so it's a shame what's going on. Hopefully,
There's got to be another good actor out there.
I
There's
guess.
got to be another good actor.
It's a real shame what he did. Yeah, you're right. Jay Mage, she's crazy.
But no. So Loki season 2, I think we all agree, really good finale. No season 3. No season 3, please, for the love of God.
Well, no season 3 planned right now, but I would not rule out Loki season 3.
Yeah, I think in an interview, the guy said it was a book, so it's like first half and second half of a book, But if Marvel wants to do a season 3, he will come back for it. I don't know if he actually has
Yeah.
ideas, but I think he just wants to come back for it.
Poor Tom Hiddleston. Let
Because
him rest.
we're talking. This is the best rated Marvel show, right?
I think so.
I'm just looking at the numbers. Because they don't. So, let's see. Rating. Here we go. They listed these things like, oh man. So Loki was far and above the top show, the top thing watched on Disney Plus this last week. Okay, beat out Elemental, and twice as many viewers as their other big one, which is Grey's Anatomy, and Bluey. Like, but keep in mind that Grey's Anatomy has 20 seasons, and Bluey is like a fucking phenomenon, right? So, you gotta look at that sort of thing. But I saw something about comparing the shows to the other stuff like Secret Invasion, and Secret Invasion apparently is the most poorly watched one.
Oh yeah,
I forget if it did or Miss Marvel.
Both probably similar.
Yeah,
probably very similar.
And then, yeah, those two have really, really low ratings, and all the rest of them. Essentially, you've got 3 tiers of TV shows on that are Marvel. You've got Loki, which is ahead of everybody else. Then all the other shows are about the same, like She-Hulk, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision. They all kind of have the same ratings. And then, like, in the lower tier, you have Ms. Marvel and Secret Invasion, which did really badly. But like Moon Knight's in the middle. All the other ones are Hawkeye is in the middle. They all got the same ratings. But Loki goes high, and Secret Invasion and Ms. Marvel go low.
Yeah, well, I think Loki was one of the first ones to be released before the superhero fatigue, right?
Fair enough.
So,
you
like,
think that's
a lot
what it
of
is right
people-
now? Superhero fatigue?
Oh yeah, as somebody who's reading comics daily for the past 14 years, I'm tired, man. Like, I hate the MCU right now.
What?
I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's oh man. I wouldn't go as far as to say garbage, I guess, but it's getting pretty close. It's McDonald's. It's the McDonald's of like cinema right now. Like, you could eat McDonald's for like 5 days, but you're not gonna get like sustenance. Like, you're eventually gonna need like a steak and some broccoli. You're gonna go. You're gonna.
This is for people that like. It's funny. I was watching like Mr. Sunday Movies, and they were like, "This is our job to pay attention to this," and we're still like, maybe we can skip this this latest Marvel show. Like, and they used to review like every single movie, right? There is a bit of that. I mean, I think COVID did something too. Like Marvel kind of got a lot of hits, right? Like COVID, like pushed back a lot of their movies. There's been a lot of superhero fatigue. Just a lot of other people started releasing superhero movies too. So it's like not even Marvel. It's not even just Marvel superhero fatigue. It's all superhero fatigue.
We have The Boys going. We have Peacemaker. We have Suicide Squad from DC. Like, all good stuff. Like, it's not like it's bad. It's just there's so much of it coming out at once. It's like staying imagine staying at Disneyland for a year. Like, you'd eventually want to go home. You wouldn't want to be good. You wouldn't want to go home
refreshing. What's so refreshing about Loki is you don't even feel like it's a superhero show.
No, not at all.
Because
it feels like kind of like Men in Black to me, or like something like that.
Yeah,
or like Quantum Leap.
And so it seems much fresher than that. Though Secret Invasion didn't feel like a superhero show either, and it kind of sucked. But
that was horrible. That was a bad show. That shame on you. Like, that was Marvel. Like, no, gross. Don't even try that again.
Yeah, but it's amazing though. It's amazing that you can have like the same company produce 2 things, and one and the quality being so different.
Well, as it stands right now, the only thing that's Marvel that's coming out in like the next year is Deadpool 3. I don't think there's anything else coming out, in movies wise, by the way. So I have no idea what's going on with the new Spider-Man. I have no idea what's coming out with the new X-Men. I have no idea what's coming out with Fantastic Four, or the new Captain America. But what is confirmed for 2024 now, as of the actor strike and writer strike being over, is Deadpool 3. So I'm looking forward to that. I like Deadpool. Wolverine's cool. Though they should let Hugh Jackman rest, the poor man.
I think this is going to be his last.
I think people are excited about that. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of excitement too. Yeah, and this is his. I think he was like dragged back into this by Ryan Reynolds.
And a lot of money. But I think that they're going to do Captain America in a couple of years. Right?
Yeah.
But nothing else
Wilson.
in 2024.
Yeah, we're doing Falcon, Captain America. The writer of Falcon and Winter Soldier, he's the one writing that script. So,
okay.
I think you made a good point, Preston. Falcon Winter Soldier would have been better had they not had to kind of finagle the script around, because remember, you had a good point, you had a good idea about how they probably had a virus as the initial plot, but then COVID happened, so they had to switch that around to like random other shit.
Yeah, switch that up, yeah.
It's confirmed that is exactly what happened.
Oh, okay. Well,
there was a virus subplot that is gone. They had to cut around it. Yeah, it was just too divisive at the time, especially like politics leaking into COVID, that whole era of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think.
Do you think it's just like the show, like a show also increases the fatigue, in the sense that like now it's not just the movie is out for like a week or two and then you can forget about it. It's like the show is on TV for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks at a time, like taking up space, where you're like, oh, I got to keep up with this. That there's just a lot more. Because, we're talking about there's hardly any movies coming out, right? Just Deadpool 3 and Captain America.
I think right now, with the writer's strike and just a couple other things like them, I think they're kind of hearing the signs. They're hearing the air sirens go off. And they slowed down, definitely. Nothing has really come out, but at the pace they were going, it was rapid fire content. It was Multiverse of Madness, Thor 4, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion, like one after another. Boom, 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 dropping on my head. And it was too much.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah, I think maybe that's why I'm enjoying Loki a little bit more, is because I haven't watched, a Marvel show in 5-6 months. When did Miss Marvel or Secret Invasion come out? 6 months ago. So I got kind of a breather and no big movie came out, I don't think. Except for Across the Spider-Verse early this year.
I've heard of some people liking the Marvels movie because they don't, and these are people that don't have, the people that don't have Disney Plus, liked the Marvels movie more than the people that did. Because if just a moviegoer, it's not like there's that much Marvel content out there, Yeah, there's Guardians and there's Ant-Man, but if you're just going to the movies, you're not overwhelmed by it. Like, oh, why not the Marvels? But the fact that we have both Disney Plus and these movies, it's a lot at once.
I think even the average moviegoer is probably a little like another one, because they had 22 to 24 by the time Infinity War or Endgame came out. So now we're hitting 30. I couldn't imagine what one of my cousins going to the theater being like another superhero. Yeah, that I wouldn't buy it if I was a casual viewer, me personally. But I'm a reader, so I want to see how they pan out on the big screen. And they're not going too obscure. That's what's really, I think, annoying, is they stopped wanting to please comic book fans and they wanted to start kind of just pandering to casuals to, get a wider audience, which is smart marketing wise. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying maybe drag some comic book source material in, because Feige was trying to say, oh, we don't have a lot of Loki stories to draw on. Okay, guy. Yeah, sure, there's not, but whatever. So you ended up mashing him together with the TVA.
You're really you're over the course 70 years of Loki stories. You don't have anything.
Yeah, I could think of Thor Blood Brothers would have been or Thor and Loki Blood Brothers would have been a great 6-episode series where it's just, and it's Holy Loki, where he just kicks Thor off the throne. Like, they don't tell you how. It just starts with Loki ruling Asgard, and he's, like, kind of going crazy from it. He's, like, grabbing a guard and, like, screaming at him, like, what do I do with Thor? I have him, like, in a dungeon. Should I torture him? I don't know what to do. And you get to see, like, the mental decay of, like, a god. Like, it's interesting. They could have done any of that.
But ironically, this worked out, because you were telling me privately how Loki had really nothing to do with the TVA in the comics, but here, somehow it worked out.
I don't think he interacts with them once. Like, I was trying to find a comic that he interacted with them in after season 1 came out, and I don't think I could.
It worked out.
She-Hulk has a bigger presence with the TVA. She goes on trial.
Yeah, Preston was telling me about that. By the way, the next Marvel thing is Echo, and the difference between this is that Echo is going to come out all at once. So they either had no faith in it, or it's one of those things that you have to like binge, like Andor. When they released Andor, they released the first 3 episodes same day. So with Echo, maybe it's one of those situations where in order for you to really enjoy Echo, it has to be released all at once.
Or it's a 2023 equivalent to a straight-to-DVD movie. One of the two.
Yeah. I've heard grumblings that Echo is not reviewed well, but at the same time that trailer makes it look like it's the greatest fucking show on the planet, right? Like
you both know this very well. I had to eat my words with Andor, because remember when Andor's trailer first came out and they announced it, I'm like, who asked for this? And then afterwards, I this is something I needed that I did not know. Echo could be the Andor of the MCU. Who knows?
Yeah, it might be.
Well, what's so funny, you know how like people are like a certain element gets angry at like the whatever wokeness of various shows that Marvel is now doing, and it's like well, what's kind of ironic is the thing that we're sick of is watching the same plots over and over again. Like sometimes the woke elements or whatever, the political elements, if you want to say, are the most interesting parts. Well, because everything else is just punching and beam into the sky.
If you want to like get real with it, Marvel's always been extremely liberal, like since the 60s.
Oh yeah.
So this is par for the course. Like this is their whole meal ticket. They've always been extremely left. They've always been very woke. They've had black characters in the 60s all the way through the 70s, which, a lot of people didn't. Like, you even have a thing where you talk about Night Flyers getting not published because of it having a black woman in it. Or, like, on the cover, right? Yeah, so... Yeah. And Marvel's sitting there making Black Panther in 1963? So, yeah, like, I don't know how people can get really mad at Marvel for that. Like... Sure, if you get mad at Universal or something, I guess I can kind of understand where these Southerner kind of brain come from. But, Marvel is, like, go read a comic. Go read a 70s comic and
even
see.
Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
Like, Empire Strikes Back, like, or whatever, like, they get angry at the Star Wars stuff, too. I mean, Lando Calrissian was specifically put in because people were complaining that Star Wars didn't have any black people. And so Lucas is like, fine, I'll put in Lando, and everyone was angry at him. But the thing about, I bring this up because Echo is a show about an American Indian who is deaf and who is missing a limb, and that's like that premise by itself is fucking like, I mean, but also it's like super interesting. Like what is this show about this American Indian with that's missing a leg who's deaf, and the actress herself is like, missing a limb and is deaf and is an American Indian. Like what is this all about? I want to actually explore that. I hope it's not just the Kingpin adopts her and we're not even going to like explore that kind of information. But that's like one of the most interesting aspects of the show is the fact that she's like deaf.
In the trailer, they show like a dance, like a Native American dance going on. So I think they're gonna explore some of it.
That sounds great. I mean, because what's the alternative? The alternative is just some people punching, and seeing the same thing over again. Yeah, and that's everyone complaining. So let's have something different.
Yeah, we might just get the Punisher show where she just goes on a revenge arc,
Yeah.
or I could see them doing something like she thinks somebody's the villain the whole time, and she's trying to get revenge, and then she ends up turning on the Kingpin at the last episode, that kind of thing. Very cliche. Or we might get something very creative.
I think I had a comment complaining that Loki was a super woke show, and I'm like, how is a show where the lead is a white male, like, and the other lead is a white male, like what's so woke about it? And they're like, oh, because they're like emasculated, whiny men getting like kicked around by like Sylvie,
Hunter, like,
a powerful woman.
So like the Hunter and Ravonna are like, the tough, gritty ones, and then Owen Wilson's like, wow, let me go get a key lime pie. Yeah, so I can, okay.
Even though Owen Wilson is Owen Wilson, he's the same role that Owen Wilson has always played.
McQueen. He's from Cars, just in TVA now.
Right. and meanwhile, the other lead was once banging Taylor Swift, but let's forget about that. Like that this guy was banging Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
Tom Hiddleston dated Taylor. I forgot about that briefly. Yeah.
But like but the fact that like it's not that, the fact that he's not just some beefy guy punching problems, he's doing something completely different.
He went to Pompeii and spoke Latin? What a fucking nerd. Get him out of here. He knows that? Ew. Yeah, that is a good point, I guess.
Look, in the end, Loki is a show about some whiny, depressed dudes having an existential crisis. Like, that's what it is about.
But that's what life is. And it's awesome. That's usually what whiny white dudes are doing. That's a pretty proper representation of what's going on with like mid-20s white dudes.
I mean, right. It's a sense. I mean, I talk about the movie Fight Club, which was one of my most favorite movies. I don't know how I feel about it these days, but like one of the things I liked about it was that the movie is Fight Club, and yes, it's about a guy starting a fight club, but it's not really about a guy starting a fight club. It's about a man beating himself up emotionally inside and all of that. And it's really about like, how much do you have to beat yourself up before you allow yourself to be happy? And like, it's more about his inner turmoil. It is more about like the whiny white guy thing, the whiny white male, which makes it such a, which was why the movie speaks to so many people. But I mean, that's what Loki is too. But in the end, like, he didn't punch his way to the solution. He grabbed a bunch of fucking time streams. He became a loom.
He became the loom. Yeah, no, and the way he did it, the third like option he chose, like it is very in line with what he would choose comic book wise too. I remember it might even be the comic I was referencing earlier. In Blood Brothers, there's this like kid who kind of gets up in Loki's face because Loki's ruling Asgard, and he talks some shit to Loki, and Loki, he's an asshole. He might just kill this kid, but he sees himself in him, and he's like, I was like that towards Odin when I was a kid. I get it. I like this kid because I see myself in him. So him going, I'll just become the loom for Sylvie. Like, I'm not going to kill Sylvie, and I'm not just going to do the other thing. So I'll just sacrifice myself for it. I'll become a Prometheus in a sense where, like Prometheus is a trickster god, and he gets chained up for all of eternity. That's what I was thinking is like, it's kind of just a retelling of a modern day Prometheus with the name Loki.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad because I think at some point he does say that he doesn't want to be alone, and at the end he is alone, but he's doing it for everybody that he loves and cares about. So it's very touching.
Yeah, oh yeah, in the end it's mushy heart. Yeah, it was bittersweet though.
Yeah, so best show of the year so far. It's November, so there's not many left.
No, it's for me it's Foundation season 2, but
Foundation
Loki is
and Loki
2.
are up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Telling you, Preston, Foundation season 1 and season 2, you got to check out. Season 2
He
was
hasn't watched it?
absolutely phenomenal. Oh my god, it's so good, so good. It really is like sci-fi on that Dune level without the worms, but or the spice. But for the most part, like the tech is there. The tech is there. Guys, so we all agree Loki season 2 finale phenomenal. Mr. Ness, do you mind if we have you back on for Echo?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Phenomenal. Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.